You are listening to, you are absolutely listening to the George Espinlove Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm. Now, with no further ado, here comes Georgie!
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, what a lively bunch for Monday night. You're listening to George Espinlove Show, and to all those that are down the street, around the corner, across this great nation, and around the world, I welcome you to the Funny Farm. We're here from a place called Our World. Have no idea where it's at, but that's where we're at. We don't really care. We don't have a mailing address. We don't have a mailbox. We just live here. But we do have email. Email me, George C.E. That's George C.E. at Comcast.net. George C.E. at Comcast.net. Right from the beginning, I want to say that our hearts and our prayers are with those folks in Boston that have been injured and those that have been taken from us. My heart is heavy, as the entire nation's heart is heavy, and we need to pray one for another. And so tonight we're going to bring our guest on, Carl Higbie, a former Navy SEAL. And I'm not so sure if it could be any more appropriate time than tonight, after what took place, that Carl comes and joins us. I believe that America needs to wake up. We need to listen. We need to open our eyes, and we need to see. Email me, GeorgeCE at Comcast.net. We have the phone line. Call us. Give us your comments. Ask Carl questions. Whatever the case might be. It's a Skype number, so you can call on any calling device from anywhere around the world. Our number is 302-497-3414. That number again, 307-497-3414, or George.Espinlove, Espenlaub. And now, as Charlie always says, and he always says it well, with no further ado, we're going to bring Mr. Carl Higbie. Carl, welcome to the George Espinlove Show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's a privilege. It is a privilege indeed. I was telling our listeners, perhaps this is the most appropriate time to have you on the show after what took place a few hours ago in Boston, Massachusetts. And we are for always telling our audience we need to open our eyes, perk up our ears, pay attention, get a life, because America is in trouble right now. And I thank you for coming on the show, and I thank you for writing the book.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, thanks for having me. And the book is just another extension of my service to this country. It's I owe it to my brother, sisters, family, and all those others who served out there as well.
Yes, and thank you. Thank you so very, very much for your service. I have a very, very tender spot in my heart, as I'm sure you do too, for those men and women that served in uniform and that are currently in uniform today. So thank you, sir. Could you give us a little background about yourself?
Well, I mean, honestly, the best way to get the in-depth is to get the book, because the first chapter is all about me. But I was kind of a kid that grew up out of the norm. I was playing manhunt and building bombs in my backyard at 10 years old. So it was only fitting after 9/11, I dropped out of college with a part wrestling scholarship and joined the teams and did two deployments to Iraq, one to Baghdad, one to Fallujah. And I was there for about 7 or 8 months each time. And at the end of my second deployment, myself and 7 of my teammates were charged with prisoner abuse. The prisoner was the Abed was his name, which is pretty much the name of everybody over there. He was the mastermind behind the Blackwater Bridge contracting in Fallujah, where he strung the bodies up of 4 American contractors, lit their bodies on fire. We caught him. We brought him back to base. Nobody touched him. And he bit his lip and complained that we beat him up. Now, he was 6 feet tall, 130 pounds soaking wet. I'm 6 feet tall, 240 pounds soaking wet. If I hit this guy, that'd be quite a big mark. And nevertheless, 3 of us went to trial. 5 of us did not go to trial, and it was completely unsubstantiated. We were all acquitted, and everything went on the wayside as far as the legal battle. But we had significant problems in our careers afterwards, and we were blacklisted from a lot of places just solely for being accused and dragged through the mud on this court-martial. And I wrote this book. I said, I'm tired of the BS with all the politically correct crap. I'm going to put it in a book, and I'm going to put it out there. And my command, I said, I'm going to publish this book, and I want you to review it to make sure there's nothing security involved. They said, well, you can't write this book. I said, screw you guys. I'm writing it anyway. They're like, well, if you do, it'll cost you your career. I said, fine. I'm doing it anyway. Put it out there, and long legal battle, I resigned from the military with an honorable discharge. 3 months after getting out of the military, I got an informal letter from a commanding officer I'd never met at a command that I was at long before he took command, and that said, we're downgrading you to a general discharge. Wow. So I called my lawyers, and they all said this has never happened before. It is against all written standards the military has to downgrade somebody after they've been already issued an honorable discharge. And it was a pure product of the Obama administration not liking the fact that I was speaking out against his policies.
Let me ask you this first. When you were there the first time, was President Bush in office?
Yes, absolutely was.
And the second time
we were allowed to arrange quite a few meetings between them and their God. So,
and the second time you went, Obama was in office,
and not a single person from my entire platoon fired a shot the entire 7.5-month deployment.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Was there a difference? Excuse me. Was there a difference in the roles of engagement from the first time you were there until the second time you were there?
Absolutely. My first deployment, we would go out almost every night, and we would capture killing bad guys, 6-7 nights a week. And we were there, and we were there to do the mission. We were there for a reason, and we were accomplishing goals every night. 2009, and I talk about it in great length in the chapter, Military Bureaucracy and Its Deficiencies. And, I tell everybody go to www.battleonthehomefront.com to get the book. But I talk about it in great depth, how the chain of command and the bureaucratic crap, the red tape, and the fact that many of our commanders now care more about their career than they do about their country, and they're more interested in putting bullets in their eval than they are about putting bullets in a bad guy. And our commanders were trying to appease those above them, and so on and so forth, up to the president. And they just formed into what they thought their commanders wanted, and it really got people killed. It got a good friend of mine killed, and it kept us from going and getting bad guys, even when we knew where they were.
And the reason I ask you that was I sometimes sit by myself. My wife tells me I spend too much time by myself, but nonetheless, I sit by myself and I think about these things. in the rules of engagement, because every now and then something will come up on the news and they'll talk about rules of engagement. They won't go into the specifics, but I know what they're saying. You fellows were sent out there on a mission to take this bad guy and bring him back. You accomplish your mission, you bring him back, and he cries, excuse me, he cries that he was abused by you fellows. And he's a combatant, and his job is to kill Americans, cripple and maim, and if need be, even cut off heads. But yet he bites his lip and says that you guys roughed him up. So you guys take the fall.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And our commanders took the word of him over 8 combat decorated SEALs. And this guy was a SEAL. Our commander was a SEAL. And when we were all acquitted in court, we turned to him, and he hung his head, and he was upset that we were not convicted. He was genuinely upset that we had not been convicted of a charge. NCIS, Navy Criminal Investigative Services, told our commanding officer prior to this trial, don't go forward with this. There is no case here. And he said, I don't care. Find something. He was more interested in separating himself from a potential, quote, scandal than he was in sticking up for his boys who were going out and ready to do the job on his behalf. And I say it in the book. I said, our commanders are more interested in their medals than they are in the men who gave them the reason to be eligible for that medal.
Yes. Do you personally, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but do you believe that there's a purging going on of our military?
Absolutely. And with the recent news this morning where they said now our superiors and admirals, generals, commanders will be evaluated by their subordinates, I believe that is a genuine ploy by the administration to destabilize the military and destabilize the chain of command. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to draw I think it'll draw the line. But now there's a lot of people on both sides of the aisle that say this is going to be bad. And yeah, there's no doubt Hagel and Obama are definitely trying to destabilize the military. They've been doing it since he's been in office, between restrictive rules of engagement, the sequestrations heavily hitting on the military, many, many things. But I think, and I say this in my book as well, that this needs to happen because, and this is another reason why the commander-in-chief should have to have military experience, because they're so ignorant to how things actually work in the military if they haven't served.
Oh, amen, brother. Amen.
Ultimately, yeah. I'm sorry?
You get me excited when you say that. I've said that for years that they should serve. That ought to be a...
Oh, yeah.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
A prereq. Yeah, well, I mean, it is what it is. You're absolutely right. It should be a prereq to any... I think Congress, Senate, or executive branch, you need to be in the military. And if you didn't serve in the military, well, sorry. Mm-hmm. You're not eligible. I think that this is their attempt to destabilize it, but in all actuality, I genuinely believe that this is another a twofold solution for the right wing, because this is going to ultimately strengthen the military, because I think, and it will unite us, because I think most commanders nowadays, and you are in the military, most commanders now make decisions based on either risk-adverse strategy to avoid an, quote, incident, or make decisions based on their personal career aspirations. And very rarely do commanders make decisions, risky decisions, based on the mission. They'll fall back to, how will this affect my career? And now, with subordinate evaluations, they'll be forced to consider their men. They'll be forced to consider what's going to happen to my career now, because my men see my true colors. So what it is I think it will ultimately make the military a more effective organization. And I also think it's going to help weed out some of the real idiot officers that we have running the show up there, guys who are just puppets to their senior leaders, in which they're, unfortunately, a large percentage of our senior military leaders are puppets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let me tell our audience.
The sled dogs, the guys on the ground. Oh, good.
Let me tell our audience that, ladies and gentlemen, you can go to battleonthehomefront.com. That's battleonthehomefront.com. That's all one big phrase together. Battleonthehomefront.com. And you have recently went on radio too, haven't you, Carl?
Yeah, I have my own radio show. It's at conservativenationradio.org, and we are the Sound of Freedom every Thursday night. I co-host the show with a JAG. I normally don't care for officers too much, but he's a pretty good guy.
There's a few in the bunch every now and then that it's all right.
Yep, even a blind squirrel finds a nut.
Where can people, and we'll bring this up again, but where can people buy your book?
They can buy it right through my website. They can go to Amazon. You just type in Carl Higbie or Battle on the Home Front, and it's going to pop right up.
Great. And we'll announce this. We'll keep it going on. I put your website on our show page so people can bounce off of our show page right to your web page, and then they can just, there's a tab.
I saw that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, there's a tab right above your book where you can order it, and they can just bounce off of that and go get it. Let me ask you this, and this is one of those things that I've sat and I wondered about. How, and I can't get it pictured in my head, but how many is there lawyers amongst the boots on the ground nowadays that commanding officers are referring with lawyers before they make moves?
I think so. I think what happens is in a bureaucratic organization like we have, which is there's just an astronomical amount of red tape, and once your listeners get through the book, they'll see exactly what I'm talking about. There's the chain of command is so layered with extra layer after extra layer after extra layer. So nothing gets to anybody the way it's supposed to. And for instance, when we were deployed overseas, we would, submit actionable intelligence, say, hey, we know where this bad guy is. He's killed Americans. Let's go get him. And that information would fly up the chain of command just in one form or another. And it would come back down, well, you need to get this information on it. So we'd get more information on it. We'd send that information back, and they say, well, we're worried about an incident, so we're going to need to be 100% sure that he's on target. And we're like, well, you know what? The guy could leave to go get a cup of coffee. We can't guarantee you he's going to be there at that time.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, it's not enough information. So we'd pass our thing off to another chain of command, maybe an Army Ranger unit or a SIF unit or something like that. And they'd go get the guy with 100% effectiveness, and they would have a flawless operation, and it would, make the daily news of, the military, through the military ranks. And our commanders would come back with, why didn't you go get this guy? Well, why did the Army go get him? I thought we were on target. It's like, yeah, well, guess what? We were trying to do the approval process, but it took a week, and by that time, the guy's going to leave town because he's going to know we're onto him.
Mm-hmm.
So we handed it over to a unit that would actually get approval for it. And this is a sealed chain of command. And then they would have this big meeting, and everything was said they were going to. Nothing ever changed, and it was the worst deployment I could possibly ever imagine. It was tons of bad guys, and they wouldn't let us get them. And it boils down to the fact that, the commanders, direct commanders under Obama were trying to appease him. So they were looking for certain things from their subordinates. And then it's the trickle down effect. Everybody was trying to please the guy above him. And the guy at the top is a real wimpy piece of junk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's our president.
Yeah. I agree. I agree 100%. And I wouldn't be embarrassed to shout it from the rooftop.
Yeah.
And I know that this might be a little off topic, but what you're talking about Isn't that the same kind of problem or the disaster, the reason why the disaster took place in Benghazi?
You're absolutely right. And I was actually just on the phone with a buddy of mine, Ben Smith. He was one of the SEALs that did that video, dishonorable disclosures, right before the election. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was the one who said, Mr. President, you did not kill Osama bin Laden. And I was talking to him about the same thing. And this Benghazi thing it's a complete crap. I mean, when you have the ambassador calling and saying, we could not withstand a coordinated attack here, guess what? You send them more troops.
Mm-hmm.
And then when generals and admirals want to go assist these guys under duress, you turn them loose. You say, all right, everything you got, throw it at them.
Right.
Because I tell you what, if I was in Benghazi and I had survived, my next stop would have been the White House.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want some answers. So I think President Obama's a lucky man that those guys didn't survive.
I sit and I think. I don't all the time sit, Carl. I mean, I do move around, but I think about Benghazi a lot, and it makes me spit sideways. I get so angry when I think if we ever called for help, we needed support. I can't remember ever my tour and a half in Vietnam. I can't remember one single time that we had to sit and twiddle our thumbs and wait for support. When we called, it came.
Yeah.
And man, did it come. It come from heaven. It come from the earth. I mean, it came from everywhere. And I'm trying to get it in my mind. It's like a bank robber investigating his own robbery when it comes to Benghazi. Right. Do you think somebody's going to get the spine enough to really push this thing so we can get somebody backed up against the wall?
I sure hope so. And you have guys like Ted Cruz up there who are doing good things. But the problem is, you're right. You're trying to, it's a wolf and a sheep arguing about what's for dinner,
Mm-hmm.
And, like the saying goes, we have to be able to hold their feet to the fire. We have to have some power to do so, which is probably why they're attacking the Second Amendment right now.
Yes.
A movement of some sort. I'm not saying a revolution or anything like that. So, who's ever listening in their little booths up at, in D.C. can calm down. I'm not saying about the revolution, but there is going to be a movement, and you can call it a revolution. You can call it whatever you want. But the people are going to start to wake up. And I hope, I have a brand new daughter, so I hope it's sooner than later because I don't want it to hit complete rock bottom. But I think they're trying to fundamentally transform America and restructure this. And we need to, as citizens, first off, we need to stop these idiots from voting based on themselves.
Yes.
Because that's how they're getting into power, that and voter fraud. But we need to educate people. And if we don't, there's going to be a divisible line. And, half the country's going to go one way and half the country's going to go the other way. And it's going to be ugly. It's going to be, I hope it doesn't come to it, but it could be a civil unrest. It could be, a complete financial crisis. It could really, we could turn into, Greece or Cyprus.
Yeah, there's no good that can come from any of this. And as you was talking about the military and the chain of command, and the officers are more concerned about their career than their men and the mission and so on and so forth. That goes all the way through Congress. Some of these men, outside of a few, such as Ted Cruz, as you mentioned, don't have the spine, or they won't stand. People won't say what it is anymore. I mean, when I grew up, it was like somebody told you the way it was, and if you didn't like it, that was just too bad. I mean, just put it in your wall locker and go home. But nowadays, as you said, that political correctness, it's got to go, and we need voices like yours.
Yeah.
To stand up and say it just like it is.
Yeah, well, I made it. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it pisses me off. Like, these people are, oh, well, you can't say that you're going to offend somebody. And, well, guess what? I'm offended that you're offended. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, but it doesn't matter that I'm offended. I mean, I said this, I was on my radio program the other day, and I got, you know, I own a sawmill and a furniture company, Rustic Timber Company. And, we ship nationwide. We build handmade, solid wood, rustic furniture. And one of the byproducts of a sawmill is wood. So I have a lot of firewood laying around. Mm-hmm. And so I put an ad on Craigslist for free firewood. And I have about, on a good milling day, I'll have about 30 to 40 people come by and pick up wood. So I made an observation one day that I had 14 white people and 16 black people come by. All of the 16 black people not only asked me, but yelled at me when I refused to help them load the firewood into their cars. All of the 14 white people did not ask for it. Some of them even gave me extra money saying, hey, thanks, here's, go get yourself lunch. And I made that observation online. I said, as a society, the black culture is lazier than the white culture. Mm-hmm. And it is how it is. I mean, as a majority. And people were up in arms, and I was like, prove me wrong.
But nobody can.
No, yeah, nobody can. And I'm not a racist. And I don't hate somebody just for their skin color. I hate somebody for how they are. You know, like I hate Dianne Feinstein because of how she is.
Right.
And exactly. So, but people were so offended by it, and we had tons of calls and tons of people all over, blogging all over the internet, and said, you can't say that, you're a racist. I'm not a racist. I made a factual find based on my personal experiences. And, you know, if you don't like it, fine, you know, but there's this, I live in Virginia Beach, and there's a huge push down here, you know, between, you know, the local news networks are pushing, hey, you know, race this and race that, especially after the Trayvon Martin thing. And it comes down to the fact that, you know, people are afraid to tell it how it is anymore.
And we're never going to solve our problems. I mean, solve our problems until we say, look, this is the problem, blah, 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 point blank, and this is what it's going to take to solve it.
Yeah, exactly. And all they want to do now is just rename the problem.
You wrote your book while you were still in the service?
Yes.
And they suggested that you don't write the book, right?
No, they actually told me not to write it. They said specifically, do not write this book, Carl. And I had tried to get it approved, and I said, I'm not asking for your permission. I'm asking for your guidance. You know, and I read cover to cover with my lawyers the 3,000-page Navy manual on how to get this stuff done. And I met every criteria. I crossed every T, dotted every I, and yet they still refused to do their part. So I said, fine, screw you guys. I'm just going to publish it anyway. I said, if you do that, it's going to cost you your career. I said, fine.
So when they said it's going to cost you your career, what basis did they have to do that?
Well, they were very very sneaky about it. As soon as I released the manuscript to them, they knew that I probably wasn't going to back down. So they started counseling me, building up a paper trail, what they call it. You know, anything from a uniform violation, which is, I come into work, I used to, my last billet in the Navy, I taught skydiving. So I'd come in workout clothes along with everybody else at the command, but yet I would be counseled for that. Or they went so far as to file an equal opportunity complaint against me, saying that I was a racist, and they made allegations that I had said in front of people that I wanted to kill black people. And I was like, that's not what happened at all. And there were other people there that dismissed those claims. They said, you know, Carl's a good guy. He didn't say that. I was standing right there. But the one allegation stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a ploy to try to scar my name. They had said all kinds of things. I mean, they counseled me for having an extra business outside of work, saying it got in the way when it never did. Anything they could put on paper to make me look bad, they did.
Wow.
And a lot of it was completely fabricated, and they used that to their advantage. And then ultimately I resigned, and then after I resigned, I get this letter 3 months later saying, hey, we're downgrading you.
I have, of course, there's a lot of things I never heard of in my life, but I have never heard of such a thing as downgrading your discharge from what it went from honorable to general.
Yeah.
I never heard
which
of
means
such.
I lose my GI benefits.
Yeah, I've never heard of such an animal.
It's crazy. My lawyers, a team of lawyers, some active duty JAGs, some former JAGs, civilian attorneys. Nobody's ever heard of it. It's never been done before, and I've been cautioned to use the word illegal, but it is against all written standards the military has set forth that we have seen. Mm-hmm. If they wanted to give me a general discharge, they had an ample opportunity. They had a completely ample opportunity to provide me with a court-martial or an administrative separation board or some sort of administrative process to give me that. But they knew that if they subjected me to my due process that they would lose, and they didn't want to have it rubbed in their face. So what they did was they underhanded it, just like the Obama administration is willing to do on nearly everything else, the healthcare bill
mm-hmm.
or slipping stuff in like Solyndra, things like that. They were happy to do it underhandedly and get their way. And I was deprived of my right of due process. I requested a court-martial on numerous occasions, and they wouldn't give it to me.
That guy can't even get court-martialed when he asks for it. I'm telling you, that's bad.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen.
They tried to NJP me a number of times, captain's mast.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, great, I want to go to court-martial. And then it would just disappear because they knew they'd lose.
Ladies and gentlemen, call us if you have any comments or questions for Carl. 302-497-3414. That's 302-497-3414. Can you get this thing overturned? I mean, has it been set in concrete or can you get this thing?
Well, my lawyers have filed many things that say, hey, first off, you can't do it. So technically it is null and void. But we need to get it completely wiped from the record that it was ever even submitted. And for that, we have to go through a very long process. So for all intents and purposes, I do have an honorable discharge, but I have this weird thing in my record. And we've spoken to the big Navy about it and said, hey, this is what happened. How did this get in the record? They're like, wow, I don't know. That's illegal. So we're like, take it out. They're like, well, we can't take it out. We have to go through this 2-year process. I'm like, Jesus. So it's bureaucracy,
It is. It's insanity. That's what it is. I mean, some people, somebody fell out the wheelbarrow and bumped their head, and I mean that's just all there is to it. But I've read several books by other Navy SEALs, and I read one here not too long ago. There's a fellow's name, Williams, I think was his last name, but nonetheless, they're giving a lot of you guys hassles over writing books and saying things, aren't they?
Yeah, and what they're doing is they're doing it in this underhanded way. Like with me, they were counseling me and stuff like that. And once you're out of the military, they can't touch you, but they did it anyway to me. And you know what it is the American soldier in general is the most badass creation this world has ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll take the fight to the bad guy 10 out of 10 times. But when you put a commander in front of us, they put the handcuffs on.
Mm-hmm.
And SEALs are just another one of the ranks. We are some badass dudes who want to do badass things, and we go out there and we put foot to ass when it counts. And just like every other soldier, we're doing it for our country. And we're not about to back down. And I'm not saying the rest of the military is so is not as intelligent, but the SEAL community attracts, very driven and higher educated individuals. Right. And because of that, we're now speaking out. We're seeing what's going on, and we're speaking out, and we're saying, hey, don't mess with us, because we're going to, we have fought for this country, and we will still continue to fight for this country.
Those fellows that were court-martialed, and then, of course, there was repercussions and backlashes, although they were acquitted and so on and so forth. How are those fellows doing?
Good. 2 of them are out of the Navy right now, which the decision for them to get out of the Navy was made because of that court-martial. Both really solid guys on all counts. One of them was close enough to retirement that he said, I'm just going to stick it out. And but his career suffered greatly. He was slated to do some big things at his next duty. And, they held him back from it. And they said, no, you're going to go to some satellite command here and do some training instead. And it really tarnished a lot of people. And the whole thing was completely ridiculous. It really tainted a lot of people.
What do you think the morale of our military as a whole is?
It's terrible.
Terrible?
It is. Oh, yeah. I have a number of friends who are still in, guys who are out, guys who are SEALs, guys who weren't SEALs, Marines, Army, Navy, Air Force, everything. And I haven't met a single person that's been like, oh, yeah, I love being in the military. A lot of guys say, man, I love doing the job. That 1% of the time when they actually let me do my job, the rest of the BS, I can't stand. Mm-hmm. And I have guys, 15, 16 deployments who are, over a Team 6 that say, I can't wait to get out of the military. They were like, I love kicking indoors, and I love being a SEAL, and I love fighting for my country, but the rest of the crap that I have to put up with is baloney.
Yeah, because even when you're doing right, according to some of these PC people, you're doing wrong.
Exactly.
Guys,
it's ultimately costing guys. And, the military wants to can us, say, hey, you can't speak out, you can't say anything, we're silent professionals. Well, we were silent professionals before you went out and made 2 video games and 2 movies at the expense of the taxpayer. Now we're just professionals. So guess what? I'm speaking out. Yeah,
that's true. And
they portray us as some, as this great war fighter, and all we do is kick indoors and things like that. That's less than 1% of the time. The rest of the time we're putting up with commanders making us jump through hoops on sexual assault classes or, HR briefs. Once a week we got to go to. We were going to some sort of DUI class to prevent DUIs, or a sexual assault briefing, or these human resources meetings so we don't offend people. I said, dude, we're Navy SEALs, so the last thing we're worried about is offending people.
Yeah, yeah. Who wants to say excuse me? I'm sorry I bumped you, but it's tragic. And with these explosions this afternoon in Boston, and maybe this will help me vent a little bit. The media just tears me up at times. In fact, most of the time. I heard a guy. Somebody asked him, "Should we really be concerned about blah 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 blah?" Well, I don't think it was a well planned attack, and they're kind of amateurish or amateurish. So I don't believe it was if it was a sale, I don't believe it was a big sale, and go on and on and on and on. And I'm thinking, no, whether it's a big sale or a small sale, there were just 2 explosions that took place in downtown Boston that killed several people and wounded a whole bunch of people. and nobody should be concerned. Or the third explosion that took place at the JFK Library. We're not sure that's related. It could have been just an incendiary device that went off. It just drives me up the wall, Carl. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, it's like, I noticed one thing is they were, very quick to lock down and secure borders an extra couple hundred yards from the White House.
Yeah.
And it's like, those explosions happened in Boston. So, don't you think that, I mean, I'm not saying I will, but if I was going to attack the White House, that would have been the first strike. Because, why would you?
Right.
Why would you alarm them first? I mean, you know what it is? It's fortunately for the victims out there, there was an ample amount of medical staff on site due to the marathon. But, I mean, there's some serious. I don't know too much about it, so I don't want to be too harsh on any organization. But I think that it is a product of our weakening, the soft and weakened American image.
Yes.
And that's people are going to take every shot at that they can. Now, I don't know if it was a domestic attack, a terror attack. Either way, it doesn't matter. But what does matter is that Americans died at the hand of a madman, just like Sandy Hook, just like with Jared Lochner, just like any tragic accident, Major Hassan. Americans died because of a wacko. And we need to address the fact that we need to stop weakening ourselves and wussifying mankind. We need to stand strong and be American. And if you're offended, get out of my way because my gun's bigger. Right.
Exactly. With all of our problems, and I mean, I've watched this. I'm 64 years old now. In fact, I'm getting closer to 65, further away from 64 and closer to 65. But nonetheless, I've watched this over the years. Just it started out as a small downhill slide. And then all of a sudden the hill kept getting steeper and steeper, and we kept going faster and faster. And it was like we're sliding down this hill and we're picking up speed, and nobody's paying attention to it. And
it's the creeping gradualism that they're getting us with too.
Yeah, and now here we are. We talk about the people that once the handouts, and they're taken from the people that have, and distribution of the wealth, and it goes on and on and on and on. I keep hoping and praying that there are enough of us that all of a sudden we're going to shake ourselves, open our eyes, perk up our ears, and stand up and do something. Where do you think we stand as far as, every time, like the last election, I said we're standing at the crossroads. And then after that election, with other things that's taking place, I keep thinking, well, we're standing at another crossroad. How many crossroads do you think we got left yet?
Oh, not many. And it's a scary thought, but what it is, it's a systematic breakdown, like Obama himself said, I want to fundamentally transform America. It's what they're doing is they're creating a dependency. They're creating this vision of prosperity through lack of effort. And you have this massive entitlement program bill that the taxpayers foot every year. I have a simple solution for this. 1 year of welfare in your entire life. Every month the check goes down and you create incentive to get off. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. There's no incentive. I have somebody who lives in my condo association that makes $150,000 a year. And here's how. It's two people living together, and they scam the system. two people living together. They moved their mother in with them. Now, their mother called social services, said, my kid and my son-in-law or whatever he is cannot adequately care for these children. They need to be placed in foster care. Oh, by the way, I volunteer to take them in as foster children. Well, now nothing changes in the house. The grandmother still lives there. The parents live there, and the kids live there. Now, there's 8 kids. These 8 children are now in the custody of the grandmother. But the only difference is that grandmother now gets almost $1,400 per month per child as a foster parent in associated benefits and state payments and things like that. So these people make a lot more money than I do, and they never leave their house. And they drive a Lexus and a Mercedes. So I drive a Ford, and my wife drives a Toyota, and we work our fingers to the bone every day.
Wow.
I mean, it's sickening. Yeah, and the dependency is amazing. And I asked them one time, I said, what do you do for a living? They were like, oh. And then they told me, and they were like, yeah, you should try it. I'm like, no. Why the hell would I do that? I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I was like, I tell you what, you be happy being a drain on the economy. You're welcome.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's incredible. That makes me stutter. Yeah. Anyhow, wow. What you say that it's going to take a couple years or longer to get your boat, or I guess your ship. You don't call, well, whatever, to get everything right.
Get everything straightened out. Yeah, it will, and we're going to win. It's just going to take a while because there's no, and that's another thing with the bureaucratic system is there is no incentive to do anything at any speed other than that of a tortoise if you work for the government.
Right.
Which I also address in the book heavily. So, I mean, the military is about as organized as the DMV, and everybody's been to the DMV, so they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
battleonthehomefront.com, ladies and gentlemen. Battleonthehomefront.com. And that's the name of Carl's book, Battle on the Home Front. What can people do, Carl?
Educate. I get people all the time. I go speak at Tea Party events. If you're out there and you want me to come speak, I can be contacted through my website. But I see these people, and they're like, I'm ready. I'm behind you. I got guns and blah. I was like, what are you going to do? Are you going to take 100 people and march on Washington? You're not going to do a thing. I tell the best way to do this is to educate people and to make these ignorant people understand, these low information voters understand that this is unsustainable. Eventually, you will have sucked off the system for so long and so much that we will collapse, and then you will have nothing. It's only inevitable. And I've confronted people. They're like, nah, it's the government. They have all this money, and they can print. You know what? Everybody must pay the piper sooner or later. That credit card bill is going to come in, and someday it's going to be too much. And I tell these people, I said, you probably will not be penalized. It is your children. And you can argue with most of these idiots until they're blue in the face, but the bottom line is the I told you so speeches from conservatives is going to be coming real soon here.
With what took place today in Boston, and I guess they'll get it sorted out here, what it was, and so on and so forth. But I listened to a man on a talk show early this morning, and the talk show was out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he's a congressman, and he's a conservative, and he was down.
What's his name?
Pardon?
What was his name? Do you remember?
No, I can't remember his name, but he just came back from down at the border, and he was observing and watching, and I can't for the life of me think of what his name was, but he was talking about when Napolitano tells us that the border is more secure now than it's ever been before, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And he was telling us about how the people that's coming across the border has a system to tie up the very few custom people or the border patrol people that we do have, and they just mosey across and then they filter in. And one of the hosts of the show said, I wonder how many terrorists are literally walking across the border and is sitting in this country right now. How do you feel?
Well, they're protected by guns that they're trying to ban from us, so what do they care?
Mm-hmm.
I have a solution to border problems, and it's very simple. The last chapter of my book is called Proposed Solutions, and it basically is what I believe will fix this, and it's a very short, concise. As far as borders concerned, you get out there and you say, guess what? Any military, any public service, if you're in that area, guess what? You're being roped in to putting a 6-foot-high fence, a chicken wire fence all along the border.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to span from, water to water, from the Gulf all the way up to the Pacific Ocean. And it's going to be 6 feet high. And it's going to have signs on it in Spanish. It'll be right on the border that says, if you cross this fence, you're going to be shot. And then it's going to have another fence 200 yards in from that one. And it's going to have signs in English that says, if you cross this fence, you are in the kill zone. If you cross this fence, you will be shot. And guess what? Anybody who comes across that first fence, you will have a volunteer militia led by military that guards that border 24/7. I will volunteer to go down there 1 week a month. And I will shoot dudes who come across that border illegally. Now, on the other side of that, you make it actually accessible for people to become a citizen, and you make it beneficial to the United States of America for them to become that citizen. $25,000 fee. You want to become a citizen? You have any crimes committed in 5 years, you lose your money, you go right back, you're never welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
But if we catch you coming across that border, stand by.
I always
30-day process to become a citizen.
I hear these I hear these bleeding hearts, and of course I know the liberal wants they want votes, and they want people that don't know what's going on, but nonetheless. But I never even those Republicans, some of the conservatives, I never hear anyone telling the American people what Mexico does if they catch someone coming across their border. Have you ever heard anybody explain that?
No, I haven't. I mean, I have a pretty good idea of what they do, but I mean, you look at most countries, you cross the border illegally.
Yeah.
They don't treat them with benefits, amnesty, and all that. So 12.9 million illegals living in America right now, and yes, that's what they are. They're illegal immigrants because they are criminals. They're not undocumented workers. They're not unregistered Democrats. They're illegal aliens. It's pathetic. It's, make the path to citizenship actually available. Make it a 30-day process. Say, hey, you can be a citizen, but you have to contribute. If you don't have a job, guess what? You're out of here. If you're not paying taxes, you're out of here. And then you cannot vote for 5 years.
Yeah.
I think that's a legitimate solution.
We are probably one of the only or one of the few countries that don't protect our borders. Like, China protects their borders. Russia protects their borders.
And they have a lot more than we do.
Yeah. I spent about 6 months down on Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, and guess what? On the other side of the fence, they're looking right back at you. So they're protecting their border You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand what idiot ever came up with the thing that, well, we'll just run a few border patrol people down there and we got it covered. I don't understand it. This is our country. We're a sovereign country, and how many bad guys are coming through open territory? I just don't get it.
Yeah, well, George, I mean, you are among many of us. You are among many Americans who we just don't understand how people. It's like it's almost like the conservatives are selling freedom to the American people, and they're not buying it. They would rather take Obama's servitude.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that's what it is. It's they're voluntarily giving up their own rights, and we are trying to sell them freedom, and yet we are the bad guys. But yeah.
But I'm like you. I believe that something's going to transpire. I don't know what, but something's going to transpire that's going to shake us and wake people up, and they're going to see exactly what's taking place, and they're going to say, "Oh my goodness," and it's going to take something like that, I guess, to do that, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I believe at this point it's going to take near rock bottom to fix the solution or fix the problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, battleonthehomefront.com. And when you get there, you can purchase Carl's book, Battle on the Homefront. It is a must-read book. We have to listen. We have to open our eyes and perk up our ears. And not only do that, we have to move. We have to do whatever we have to do to get done what we have to get done. Most of you can understand that if you've been hanging out with me long enough. That's Espinlob talk. But nonetheless, Carl, I thank you, my friend. It's been a delight. I wish you the very, very best. Please stay in touch and let me know how this thing's going.
I certainly will. Yeah, keep in touch with us, and also for you and the listeners, you can get in touch with me on the Battle on the Homefront Facebook page. It's an easy way. I'm always monitoring it. So, Love to hear what you have to say. We have discussions like this all the time. All righty, and give us your radio station thingy one more time. It's conservativenationradio.org, and it's The Sound of Freedom with Hig and Resch on Thursday nights, 7 to 9 Eastern. Okay, gotcha. All right, sir. One more time, thank you for your service. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for speaking out. Yep. Well, thank you for having me on, and keep up the good fight. All right, bud. We'll have you back. All right, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Out here. Bye-bye. There we are, ladies and gentlemen. Battle on the Homefront by Carl Higbie, a former Navy SEAL. Wow. Don't be afraid to say it like it is. You can't fix a problem without knowing exactly what the problem is. How would you like to go to the doctors and the doctor diagnoses you with a very serious, perhaps even a terminal disease? And he says, well, and he hem-haws and he beats around the bush because he don't want to offend you and he don't want to make you cry. And, it's all the things that we see in our culture today. But at the same time, you want to get well. You want that whatever it is, whatever he diagnosed it as, you want that to be taken care of, to go away. He can't put a Band-Aid on cancer and make it go away. He can't put a Band-Aid on a bad heart and make it go away. He'll sit there in his office or in that examination room, and he'll tell you, this is the problem. This is what you have. This is why you are the way you are. This is why you're sick. And this is what it's going to take to make you well. We're going to have to operate.
we're going to have to go in. We're going to have to take this out. We're going to have to put this in. We're going to have to replace that thing over there. And yeah, the tears flow. Fear tries to overwhelm you. Now, I know because a year ago they told, or a little better than a year ago, they told my wife that she had lymphoma. And the doctor told her straight. Straight. Did we cry? Yeah, because as soon as you hear that C word, cancer, you're already planning a funeral. But at the same time, he said, this is what we can do. And if you let us, if you work with us, this is what we're going to do. And we have a great chance of knocking this puppy down and getting rid of it. Is it going to be pleasant? No. Might it hurt? Yep. Is it going to bring discomfort? Sure is. Are you going to get depressed at times? Mm-hmm. And on and on and on and on and on. But when we walked out of that office that afternoon, we had a plan. We had a plan. Was your cheeks still wet from tears? Yep. Were you still frightened somewhat? Uh-huh. We were walking into territory that we've never been before. Were we offended? No. Did it hurt when he told us? Sure it hurt. It was the truth. But what would we have had rather him do? Say, oh, you're fine, there's nothing there. And then months down the road, find out that you're not going to be here very much longer. He wasn't afraid that we were going to be offended. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm on my soapbox right now. Don't be afraid. You're going to offend somebody. You got these places that they're telling people, take down your American flag, or take down the Ten Commandments, or take down this, or you can't pray over here, and you can't do this over here, but you got to make a prayer room for this group over here, and so on and so forth. You know something? I get offended. Just as Carl said, I get offended too. But that's your right. You go ahead and do that. You can say it. So, the only way to fix a problem is to know exactly what the problem is and know exactly what you have to do to fix the problem. That's what we need in this country today.
You heat me up and you cool me down. I am the queen without a crown. You lift my soul, you make it fall. A glimpse of a kingdom, I want it all. You speak the truth, you tell me lies. You preach your honesty in your disguise. You are the beauty, you are the beast, a cruel hangover. You are the nightmare, you are the dream, you are the desert, the messy stream, you are the passion, you are my faith, you are the God that came too late. Fire, fire in your eyes, the flames are burning, I'm dancing with the light. Fire, fire in the air, the flames are burning. Precious in my tears. You wake me up, I drop you out. I make you whisper
take you from where you are to where you wanna be. 'Cause radio works, works. Radio works. We'll take you from where you are to where you wanna be. 'Cause radio works, works. Radio works.
And radio does work. And it works better today than it ever has. I'm telling you. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen. You can hear Carl's new radio show on Conservative Nation Radio every Thursday. Let me get the time here. I'll get it right. Every Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Conservative Nation Radio. So take a listen and get his book, Battle on the Home Front. Go to battleonthehomefront.com. Battleonthehomefront.com. And I thank Carl for being on the show and having the courage to stand and speak out. Oh boy, do we need men and women to speak out. Now listen to me. Listen to me. It's been recently proclaimed. Is that a good word? It's been recently that's all, folks. It's recently been proclaimed that Christians and those people on the right, you know, like the Tea Party people and conservatives, they are terrorists. Well, that's right. That's right. That's what Homeland Security is labeling us as. If you're conservative, if you really care about your country, if you're a Christian, you're about half a loon as far as they're concerned. I'm just saying. Listen, this land is your land. You know, like the song says, this land is your land. Am I bent out of shape? I am a little bit tonight. I'm bent out of shape. Am I sad? Somewhat. I watched what took place in Boston this afternoon, and I only watched a small part of it, so I really don't know what's going on now. But one more time, it made me aware that there is no appeasement to our enemies. They're out to kill us. They're out to destroy us. They're out to cripple and maim. They're out to terrorize. And whether the government wants to use or not use the word terrorism, or the fanatical Islamist, it's not going to change one thing, not one iota. They're still going to try to kill Americans, cripple and maim, and terrorize this nation. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen. We need to get our head out of that spot that many of us have it in, shake ourselves, and understand that our founding fathers never one single time had any intention for this country, this government, to become so huge. Their vision was we the people. And our representatives do exactly that. They represent the people. It's we the people. And the politicians in Washington with their smooth tongue and their high-priced suits and the facade that they wear on their face, they are not lords over us. We are not peasants. We are Americans. This country was purchased with blood, sweat, and tears of Americans down through the years. Every time we were threatened, America met the call. And we came out on the other side in victory. If we let things continue to go on, we grow weaker and weaker and weaker. And our enemies can see exactly what's taking place economically, militarily, all the ways that our society operates. They're watching. And they'll use all the negative things to their advantage. So please, please, shake yourself and realize we, the people, it's our country.
If you whisper my name, tonight is another lonely night. Tonight I will cry with the wolves. A bottle of wine in the candlelight, trapped by unwritten rules. The night is so dark, and there's clouds in the sky, and day after day looks the same. But the silver moonlight will shine on me if you only whisper my name, whisper my name. Tonight, there's no stars in the sky. Wish I was a fly on the wall. I'm dressed in white with the wind in my hair, on the hill, preparing for the fall. The night is so dark, and there's clouds in the sky, and day after day looks the same. But the silver moonlight will shine on me if you only whisper my name. Whisper my name. The night is so dark, and there's clouds in the sky, and day after day looks the same. But the silver moonlight will shine on me if you only whisper my name, whisper my name. There's clouds in the sky, day after day looks the same. The silver moonlight will shine on me. Whisper my name, whisper my name.
I want to say thank you to our friends at musicalley.com. That's musicalley.com. Some of you producers, if you're listening to this show tonight, or you're going to listen to it later, or you are listening to it later, go to musicalley.com, because down there, all you need to do is is sign up as a producer. You're producing a TV show or radio show, whatever the case might be. And you can go in and you've got free access to artists that are not in the limelight yet, but they're going to be. There are some tremendous, tremendous artists. MusicAlley.com. Get down and check it out. You'll be glad you did. Tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m., right here on Spreaker.com, we'll have with us Joseph Scott Morgan, who has written a book about the journey of a Southern death investigator. Now, for you that watches NCIS or what's the other one? I don't know. I don't watch them. I know my wife does, but whatever that other one is, I don't know. But anyhow, you that watches those forensic dudes and the pathologist and so on and so forth that solves the crime in like an hour, less than that because you got to account for the commercials that's taking place naturally. Well, it is not anything like that. Not even close. Joseph Scott Morgan has written the book Blood Beneath My Feet, The Journey of a Southern Death Investigator. I have read the book. It's riveting. I mean, it'll captivate you, it'll set you down, and you won't want to get up until you're done. And he lays his soul bare. That's what is so interesting to me. He lays it out there. He puts it out on the table for each and every one of us to see. And he tells us his experiences and what it has done to him over the years. Blood Beneath My Feet, The Journey of a Southern Death Investigator, Joseph Scott Morgan. He was a death investigator in New Orleans for a number of years and then went to Atlanta, Georgia. Blood Beneath My Feet, tomorrow night. A Journey of a Southern Death Investigator, Joseph Scott Morgan. You don't want to miss it. I like it when people come and bare their souls, and usually I'll react in one way or another. Tonight was no different. Battle on the Home Front by Carl Higbie. Tremendous. A former Navy SEAL. This is our country that he's talking about. Let's stand and do something. And do something good. And realize that as the people go, so goes the country. We fall asleep at the switch. Shame, shame on us. 302-497-3414. Give me a call. Or George.Espinlaub, Espenlaub. And listen to me. If we've got something going on, like, the music is playing or we're talking about something, and we answer you, but we don't say nothing, I mean, just hang tight. We'll get to you. But as soon as the music is over or as soon as we're done finishing what we're doing, but we'll answer your call. And if we don't say anything right now or right as soon as we answer your call, just hang in there. Whatever's going on, as soon as that's over with, we'll talk. 302-497-3414. Give me a call. Charlie. Okay. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Charlie said he was leaning on the board and he bumped the button. Is that what you said? He bumped the button. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to him. So if Charlie said that he was leaning on the board and he bumped the button, then Charlie must have bumped the button and the music just went away real fast. So, Charlie, try not to bump the button anymore, okay? All right, buddy. And I do want to say thank you, Charlie. Charlie is our announcer. He is a co-host. He operates the soundboard for us. He hooks things up. He keeps things going. And Charlie, you are doing a super job. Yeah, I know everybody appreciates Charlie. Or Charles, as I sometimes call him. All right, come on, guys. Yeah, I know. You know, I want to say thank you one more time to Carl Higbie, former Navy SEAL who wrote the book Battle on the Home Front. And he wrote the book while he was still a Navy SEAL. And, of course, that caused some problems amongst the bureaucratic society. Does that sound right? Okay. But nonetheless, he wrote Battle on the Home Front. Go to his website, battleonthehomefront.com. Battleonthehomefront.com. There, you can see his book. You can get an overview of his book, and you can even hit the order button and go to Amazon.com and order his book, Battle on the Home Front. Also, he has a new radio program that comes on Thursday nights from 7 to 9. So check that out, too. It's on his home page, battleonthehomefront.com. And I thank him for being here with us tonight. Plain spoken. I know one thing. After Carl left, you don't have to stop and think and wonder what he said. He said it the way it is, and that's the way it is. So there's no gray area. He just says it straight on, and I appreciate that. Tomorrow night, Joseph Scott Morgan, Blood Beneath My Feet, The Journey of a Southern Death Investigator. He will be here to tell us about his work, what he did, where he did it, and how it affected his life. It is a great book, Blood Beneath My Feet, The Journey of a Southern Death Investigator. So check it out. I'll put more up on the show page. We'll put the book up there. We'll put Joseph Scott Morgan's picture up there. We'll put a link up there so you can go to his website. You can go get the book, purchase the book. All the things that you need will be right there, so you can bounce right off of our show page, right into where you need to be. So tomorrow night, tell a friend, tell a family member, Blood Beneath My Feet, The Journey of a Southern Death Investigator, Joseph Scott Morgan will be here at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I do want to, my friend Harry over there in Ireland took the weekend off and went somewhere, and he just came back and went back on the air today. So he was off the air for like 3 days. And if you want to get some good music going, I mean, some of the best music this side of heaven. And as I always said, I've never been to heaven, so I don't really know how good the music is. But they tell me that it's the best. But Harry plays some of the best music this side of heaven on the Swingin' 60s show on Spreaker.com. Well, Harry, I'm glad that you're back, buddy. I'm glad that you're back on the air. And so we're going to dedicate this one to you. Last Train to Dublin. Wow, you should have seen Charlie and Mum out there. No wonder the crowd's so excited. Charlie and Mum, I mean, they were getting down and cutting the rug. Whatever that thing was called, they were doing it. And they had it going on. I mean, everybody cleared the dance floor. They got as far away as they could, and they left Mum and Charlie, and trust me, they used every square inch of that dance floor while that song was playing. They did a fantastic job, and I salute you, Mum and Charlie. Wow. I didn't know you could still do that. Yeah, I know you can. I know you can now. Wow. I'm starting to see the caboose. It's coming down the track. I see it. I see it. It's back there a way, but I can still see it coming. So that means we're going to get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for hanging with me tonight. Thank you, Carl Higbie, for being with us. He wrote the book Battle on the Home Front. Go to battleonthehomefront.com, and there you can read all about it. Tomorrow night, Joseph Scott Morgan. It's going to be exciting. It'll put you on the edge of your chair, I'm sure. He's a very serious man, and rightly so. So, tomorrow night, don't forget to tune in. When Joseph Scott Morgan sits in the visitor's chair, live, right here on the George Espinlove Show. I want you to know that there's a whole lot of love that's coming to you from the Funny Farm, wherever you might be. If it's nighttime, have a great night. If it's already tomorrow, then you have a fine Tuesday. But regardless, wherever you're at, whatever it is, till tomorrow night, same time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Spreaker.com. Tune in for another George Espinlove Show. We'll have another incredible guest. And so until then, this is George Espinlove saying, stay safe, be kind one to another, don't take no wooden nickels. Good night. I'll see you tomorrow night.